good evening, half my fame badge. You can't make me say that live.
Oh, I'm making you say it live, Jeremy.
No, sir.
That backstage talk was getting a little crazy.
Yep.
Anyway, I was backstage saying that on the senior panelists, Sterling Sharp deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. And all of a sudden, the whole debate started. Now, Jeremy, obviously, you just said, I know you're writing for the Detroit Lions and everything else.
Don't go there right now.
And we won't go. All right, I'll leave it. But I think Sterling Sharp deserves to be in. I don't care. Great.
I agree with you.
I also, Rich, you were saying that you feel that 20% don't deserve to be in there.
Right.
Now, is it seniors
I
or
would
they passed
no,
their
the Hall
time?
of Fame, period. Okay, I'm looking. Wait, let me pull this list up, okay? NFL Hall of Fame inductees, okay? There's 371 of them. Now, anybody that's been listening to this show for any length of time, Jeremy, I know you're kind of new to this whole circle with me. I believe a few things qualifies you as a Hall of Famer. One of the biggest of which, were you one of the top 5 dominant players at your position for at least 5 years straight? If you were that, you qualify for the Hall of Fame. So when I don't count championships because there are some Hall of Famers that never even had a chance to make it to the postseason, let alone to get a championship under their belt. Ain't their fault. They're in a team sport. If the rest of their team sucked butt, then that's not on them. And I'll use one of your guys as a perfect, 2 of your guys actually, as perfect examples of that. The greatest running back to ever walk in Barry Sanders, and one of the greatest receivers of all time in Calvin Johnson. Both of those guys, just because their team sucked, doesn't mean that should go against them. That should actually elevate them even more for the stuff that they did. So when you look at these guys that are in the Hall of Fame, all 371 of them, okay? And there's a lot of them. There's some guys that I believe should be in that aren't, by the way. I think Too Tall Jones should be in. I think Harvey Martin should be in. I think L.C. Greenwood should be in. That's just 3 off the top of my head, okay? But there are a number of guys, and when I'm rolling down this list, I'm looking at them and I'm going, okay, do these guys deserve to be? Because it's become the Hall of Very Good. It's not the Hall of Fame, okay? And some of these people that I'm going to mention, I know I'm going to catch flack about. Feel free, fire away. If you're listening, watching this, shoot, you got opinions on it, feel free to fire away. I have my reasons for a lot of these. One of which is Isaac Bruce. None of those guys that were in the greatest show on turf outside of Kurt Warner should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think Drew Pearson should be in the Hall of Fame, and I don't think Lynn Swann should be in the Hall of Fame. They were never the dominant receiver for any kind of a period of time. All this, think about it from this standpoint. Chris Carter, for quite a while, was one of the best receivers in football, right? Is he in?
Yes.
How long did it take?
Pick the bet board to get him in.
1,000,000 years, right?
Right.
No, he should have been in long before any of these other guys. Harold Carmichael. A lot of these guys are the football equivalent of Harold Baines in baseball. I'm sorry. I don't understand how Harold Baines is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I do not, and I will not ever understand. But you have these guys, and Sterling Sharp is one of them, a really good player. Nowhere near as good as his brother.
But his brother thinks
shouldn't be in.
Sterling was better than him.
Shouldn't, huh?
If Sterling or Shannon thinks Sterling was better than him. If he didn't get injured, we might have seen a really, really
Now that's a very true case. And there are other players that have had that happen where injuries cut them short. Gale Sayers was the dominant running back in that period of time, and he got his career cut short. Terrell Davis, dominant running back, got cut short by injuries. Norm Van Brocklin. Norm Van Brocklin was one of the guys that really kind of transcended the passing game, which is one of the other aspects of what I look at. Did you do something that transcends the game? A guy like a Darrell Green or a Darrelle Revis or somebody, that just dominated that corner position and changed the strategy of the other team. You didn't throw to those guys or Deion Side or when he was in his prime, Jalen Ramsey, those guys, you didn't the whole offense had to change because of those guys. Same thing with certain pass rushers, Reggie White or Lawrence Taylor, guys like that. Obviously, they were going in anyway, but they transcended the game. But there are the part that I hate about the NFL Hall of Fame is that there is a set number that goes in every year. There's 7 guys that go in every year. If there's not 7 that are worthy to go in, then they shouldn't go in. It's like baseball. Baseball, you have to have a certain percentage of votes. And that's cool. There's been years that they haven't had anybody to go in, except for the Ford Frick and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. If nobody is worthy of going in, then nobody should go in. And when I look at this year's ballot, there's a couple I think should go in, but
are we down to the final
sure as heck ain't 7.
I've got a question. How's Steve Smith Sr. not on the Hall of Fame?
Shouldn't be. Hall of Very Good.
Wait a minute. Top 10 receiving yards?
Okay.
Was he dominant for 5 years straight as his position?
I'm not sure.
He's a stat accumulator.
No, I would
argue stat accumulator.
No, I would argue Steve Smith in his prime was one of the top 4 or 5 receivers in the game.
He never ranked better than 12th in yardage. He never ranked better than 15th in touchdowns. And he never ranked better than 12th in catch rate.
Yeah, because he played with Jake.
I'll even go further. For you. He only played in 5 Pro Bowls. He was all pro. He made all pro twice, his rookie year and in 2005. He was second team. Made the Pro Bowl 5 times.
Oh, yeah, he was a hell of a fighter. 100%.
True. But Hall of Fame, no, it took him 16 years to get the 14,000 yards.
Yeah.
He averaged 850 yards a season.
And Steve Smith did this with Jake Delhomme and Cam Newton.
If he had 1,850 yards, then we could talk. Because and Jeremy, I'm going to use your guy again. Megatron did it with Eric Hipple and Dan Lorlovsky and 3 guys off the street corner in Flint, Michigan.
You can't say Eric Hipple.
I know it wasn't Eric
17 years before he got there.
I know it wasn't Hipple, but he did have Orlovsky.
Yeah. Nope. Joey
Well,
Harrington was gone too. It was Dante Culpepper, Ty Detmer,
who was washed
Ty
at that point.
Detmer, who never got started, and Dan Orlovsky, who cost us a game versus the Vikings when he ran out the back of the end zone because he was a scared little bitch.
Right. Calvin Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald are the 2 receivers that did the most with the worst around him. Outside of those couple years that Fitzgerald had Warner, Fitzgerald had garbage throwing to him. And Megatron had the advantage of being 6'5". I will sit here to this day and say Megatron's the second best receiver in the history of football.
Jeremy, you're getting mad love out here on the channel, just to let you know.
Hey, I love it. Patty Grimes, good to see you. That's a he. He's from right here, just down the street from me in Genesee County, Michigan.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
what are we down?
James
James
brought up a great point. Did you see this one? This point James brought up. He said Mike Evans is better than Steve Smith.
Yep.
Mike Evans has had 1,000 yards every year of his career. The man has played 9 years and had 1,000 yards every single year, and he's going to get it this year to make it 10 in a row.
I'm going to say that Torrey Holt deserved to be in more than Isaac Bruce, because Torrey Holt had better seasons for a longer period of time than Isaac Bruce did.
Here's
Okay,
a question.
he does, but I don't think any of the three of them deserve to be in.
Is Robert Kraft going to get snubbed now because of the massages?
Only if he starts giving them to Deshaun Watson.
Oh no!
Well, no, I think Robert Kraft should get snubbed for the whole. Okay, I'm really going out on a limb on this one because I'm a couple of years beforehand. But the whole Deflategate thing, Kraft knew every bit of it.
What about the Spygate?
I think I think that's really good, and the Spygate deal. I think that's what's going to keep Kraft. It's not to the same degree as the steroid era, but you were cheating the game. And that's why that's why I think they're going against Kraft right now, is because of that.
And Robert Kraft.
I think Robert Kraft massages is how Bill Belichick met his girlfriend.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, I mean, he's getting married to a girl that's the same age as his granddaughters.
Yeah, exactly.
You mean
kudos to him? No hate about it.
So why is Tom Coughlin getting snubbed?
Because Tom Coughlin was hated by players.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
And I don't think Coughlin did it enough, which is my strike against Belichick. Okay, everybody screams and hollers, Belichick's the greatest coach that ever walked. Take away the years with the Patriots. He wasn't worth 3 craps until he got that team with the Patriots.
Dylan, can you send the link to Jamie? I don't know why he doesn't.
How about take away Tom Brady?
Well, that's a whole nother discussion. Because I will stand by the fact till the day I die, Tom Brady's entire career was built around 3 things: a cheap hit, a bad call, and a cheating coach and owner.
A bad call on what should have been a fumble.
Right. The tuck rule was the bad call. The cheap hit was the hit on Drew Bledsoe from Mo Lewis.
Hey, yeah, kudos to 2001 that year, because there was 4 things taken out by a Jet that year.
Oh, wow.
Just saying.
But
hey, Tom Brady brought it up in the roast.
Well, and see, I don't.
Hey, Jamie.
And I realize when I say this, the internet's probably going to blow up as soon as I say it. I don't think Brady deserves to go in the Hall of Fame.
What?
Oh no,
what?
I'll have to disagree with you there.
What would he have done? I mean, if I knew the plays, I could go out there and win games.
Would that be because of all the stuff why Robert Kraft's getting snubbed?
That's exactly why he's getting snubbed. Deflategate, Spygate, all that kind of stuff. That's exactly why he's getting snubbed.
I was saying that for Brady. Are you thinking?
I think Brady should. I am. I think Brady should be snubbed for that too. I do.
So
because he wouldn't.
How do you explain away the other 5?
No, that explains 6 of them.
Speaking of flying jets, Jamie, you had a flying quarterback look pretty good on Sunday night.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, thanks.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's just Josh Allen.
And you guys get to
So-
deal with him in a week and a half.
He set an NFL record.
Yeah, he did.
First
He ran it, kicked it, passed it, scored all three, triple threat.
run, catch, throw.
Run, catch, throw. And that's what all Bills fans used to think Todd Brady could do based on the way the announcers talked about him. But now Josh Allen did that.
Orlando.
So
I'm not.
how about
sure
that, Todd Brady? Josh Allen could
Break this
actually
down
do the
for me.
three things that we thought you used to do.
That he says goofy stuff all the time.
All right.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Patty brings up a point, and this is probably one of the most controversial ones that will happen. Does Eli Manning go in?
Yep.
He won 2 Super Bowls, but he's a career 500 quarterback.
But he also has been the most clutch postseason quarterback in NFL history. He only went twice, and both times he won the Super Bowl.
But outside of those 2 games, he's an average quarterback.
They beat the Patriots. That's all we give a shit about.
Yep. That's what it is.
He
beat them during Spygate and Deflategate. That alone should get him in.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but when you sit there and you look at the qualifications to get in, I don't think Joe Namath should be in.
Oh, I agree with that. I think
I agree with that one.
Joe Namath is the
another
most
one.
overrated Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterback, not named Terry Bradshaw or Troy Aikman.
Wait a minute. Whoa, hold on. Hold the
Go look at their regular season numbers. If you're gonna poo-poo on Eli Manning,
No, I think
Terry
he's
Bradshaw
talking
had the
about
same type of numbers, and so did Troy Aikman.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
No, sir. Not to mention the fact who called his own plays out of all that stuff. Bradshaw had to call his own plays. Bradshaw had to make the calls at the line. He was setting the line. These guys out there, they're getting told what to do through their helmets. No. Bradshaw, now granted, this was an era not of passing. He only had 28,000 yards. His career record is 107, 51, and 0. He's a 68% winning quarterback.
And that defense.
Yeah, but
if you say that about him, you got to say it about Staubach, about Bart Starr, about all these other guys from the era that they ran more than they passed.
Absolutely, and I agree.
The quarterback was more the leader of the team then and had to, 18 of them, and every one of them deserves it. Well, with one exception.
I was there for.
By the way, Joe Namath threw more picks than touchdowns.
Right. I mean, Bradshaw's numbers in that time frame are some of the best that there are. In that 30-year period, 60s, 70s, 80s, Bradshaw's numbers are right there. Are they Dan Marino numbers? No, of course not. And Bradshaw, remember, retired in 84.
Touchdown to interception
Did he
ratio.
Say again?
Touchdown to interception ratio, very close to Eli Manning. Same with Troy Aikman. And that was in a more passing era in the 90s. There's correlations to what I'm getting at here.
Okay, but also there's one other thing you got to look at too. That was also an era where you could actually hit the quarterback.
You could actually
the quarterback
hit the
could get murdered. The receiver could get murdered across the middle. The ball pops up in the air and there's an interception. You can't breathe on a guy now. Now, before we get into, and I'll say this, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later on, the hit on Shedeur Sanders now, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, was a dirty hit.
Oh, yeah.
No question about it. That was a dirty hit. A, it was late. B, it was directed at the knees. Anyway, Bradshaw, Staubach, those guys, that time frame, Pastorini, Stabler, all them guys. That was an era where you could actually hit the court. Bob Greasy fits that too. Namath made the Hall of Fame because he was famous for being a New York guy that guaranteed the Super Bowl. You're right, James.
I feel bad for Earl Morrell, the backup quarterback for Indy and for Miami, got them to the Super Bowl and got sat so their starter could play.
Yep.
If Earl Morrell would have played instead of Johnny Unitas, Baltimore might have beat the Jets.
Actually, Earl Morrell did play and sucked.
Well,
no. Johnny Unitas played that game.
No, he didn't. Earl Morrell started Super Bowl III.
He couldn't start versus the Jets. He couldn't start because Shula sat him. He came in after Johnny Unitas already had the game out of hand.
Orlando brings up a point that the Hall of Fame is bigger than stats, but it's not, because the way that you have the Hall of Fame structure, baseball, football, basketball, doesn't matter. He has a point about the mink coat, but the stats have to be there, and you have to take it into consideration in relation to the time frame. Because it's unfair to take, and I'll use Bradshaw, and compare him to, let's say, Drew Brees. The eras are completely different. You're throwing the ball 5 times more often in Brees' time than Bradshaw's time, all that kind of stuff. You got to compare apples and oranges, which is why I use the logic of a 5-year period. Was he a top 5 player for a 5-year period of his career? Because then he's competing against his peers. You're not bringing apples and oranges. It's not fair to do that to anybody. And I don't care if it's quarterback, running back, receiver, whatever. Trying to compare Emmitt Smith to Derrick Henry isn't fair.
Most overrated quarterbacks in the NFL Hall of Fame, according to a simple Google search. Number 1, Joe Namath. Number 2, Drew Bledsoe. Number 3, Brett Favre. Number 4, Dan Fouts. Number 5, Terry Bradshaw. Number 6, Tony Romo. Number 7, Archie Manning. Number 8, Mark Greasy. Number 9, Mark Brunell. Number 10, Randall Cunningham. Number 11 is Troy Aikman. Number 12 is Bart Starr. Number 13 is Bobby Lane. Number 14.
Wait. Jeremy, most of those guys aren't in the Hall of Fame.
I know, but they're saying most overrated quarterbacks in NFL history is what I'm reading. I'm going right in order, right down the list. After Bobby Lane is Carson Palmer, Donovan McNabb, Eli Manning, Fran Tarkenton, George Blanda, Jim McMahon, Norm Snead, Otto Graham, and Warren Moon. That's their top 20.
Okay, I would like to request a drug test for Joseph. Brian Sipe. He said Brian Sipe was better than Bradshaw, but didn't have the teammates.
Go look at the stats. The passing stats in the same era.
Brian Sipe was.
Name 3 guys who caught passes from Archie Manning without Googling. I can't name one.
Neither
3 guys that caught passes from Archie Manning?
Yep. Yeah, without Googling, Rich. Without Googling.
I don't Google unless I absolutely have to. Let's see.
Dillon.
Earl Campbell caught one.
That's a running back.
What's a running
back?
Caught
one.
He didn't specify. James he said,
okay.
Dave
3
Casper,
guys, not 3 wide receivers.
Dave Casper caught one. Let's see.
Brian Sipe.
We got. Yeah, Dave Casper caught one from him. Wow, I should know this. I should
Might
know
get
this.
an Evan sighting tonight, guys. Might get an Evan sighting.
Huh?
Evan might be joining us here in a little bit. See. Anyway, just wanted to give a quick update.
I think currently, Orlando has a point that currently wide receiver is the hardest to get in the Hall of Fame. But I think if we look 10 years from now, it's going to be running back. Because the current, like, let's say 2010 through running back position,
not ran the same.
There's not a whole lot of guys to put in there.
Derrick Henry.
I mean, look at it right now. If you look at the players active, how many
Saquon.
active running backs are Hall of Famers?
Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey.
Saquon Barkley.
McCaffrey's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he is.
No way. Ain't done it long enough.
Yeah.
No, sir.
Yeah, he gets hurt every year. He gets hurt every year.
Rich
Can't get in by him. Sorry, you can't. Regardless of how good he is, you cannot get in by.
Christian McCaffrey is arguably one of the top 7 or 8 running backs in the history of football.
Who?
Yeah, one of the most overpaid running backs too, in an
Christian
era where we don't pay him anymore.
Wait. Run that past me again, Dylan.
Christian McCaffrey's one of the 7 or 8 best running backs in football in NFL history.
No way. I can give you 7 or 8 right now.
For the money he's making in San Francisco, he'd be cheese.
I can give you 7 or 8 in your lifetime that are better than he is.
Be honest with you, I would dispute you on most, if not all, if not better.
Well, you're what, in your 30s?
Yeah, 32.
Okay, I'd start with Emmitt Smith.
I would argue Christian McCaffrey is a more versatile, more athletic running back than McCaffrey.
I kind of agree. Emmitt Smith played for 82 years.
Well, yeah, Emmitt Smith played behind the greatest.
He was a stat batter too.
Emmitt Smith, but he's better than Christian McCaffrey.
No, he isn't.
All-around athlete, Christian McCaffrey's better than Emmitt Smith.
Edgar and James' speech for Canton was one of the best speeches I've ever witnessed, ever got to hear live.
Edgar and James is not better, by the way, than Christian McCaffrey.
No, I'm just saying, it was one of the best speeches I've ever seen live.
Okay. I would throw the name Thurman Thomas out there.
No.
Yes.
No.
All day long.
Yes, Thurman Thomas.
All
in his
day long.
Billy Sims was better than Christian McCaffrey.
Well, but I said in his lifetime.
Right.
I did say in his lifetime.
That was my first favorite running back. Him and Earl Campbell.
I'll tell you what. Ricky Waters is better than Christian McCaffrey. I'll die on that hill.
Thurman Thomas ranks 12th overall.
Marshall Falk was definitely better than
there are three guys I would consider ranking in front of McCaffrey. One's Barry Sanders, one's Marshall Falk, one's LT. That's it from this era.
Oh, since 1990?
Yes.
No, you're missing out on a bunch of them, man. Eddie George was better. Curtis Martin was better.
No, Eddie George was not better. Curtis Martin just played for 28 years.
No, he didn't. Eddie George played 15 seasons. He played 9.
Sturdiness and longevity.
I'm sorry. He played 9 seasons. Eddie George played 9 seasons. That's all he played. And averaged almost 1,300 yards a season. And remember, 2 of those years were with Dallas.
Honestly, I think that I remember a lot of Eddie George and Christian McCaffrey's better. Significantly better.
I'll agree to disagree on that one.
Well, I'm bold.
True. But in this case, I got to say, Dylan, I think you're way off, man, because Christian McCaffrey's biggest issue, and you guys brought it up a little bit ago, is his injuries. I mean, he's only played 95 games in his career. This is his 8th season, and he's only played 95 games. He's played an entire season twice since 2020. He played 17 games in 2022. He played 16 games last year. He's played 3, 7, 6, and 11 and 4 since then.
I mean,
his first 3 years, he was fine. But once he started getting hurt, he's continuously been hurt. You look at his numbers. He's got 6,300 rushing yards and 4,400 receiving yards. So he's got 10,000 total yards. But you can't depend on the guy, and he just hasn't put it together long enough to do it.
But he's on the field. He's amazing. But the problem is, when is he on the field?
I mean,
and the bad part, Jeremy, this year he hasn't been that great. He only averaged 3.8 a carry this year, which is a full yard below his career average.
Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery has way better stats this year on accident.
Right. And I don't remember who it was. Somebody mentioned that Zeke should be in. No. Hell no.
You know what? I would rather see Tony Romo in the Hall of Fame over Zeke.
I don't think you're going to see either one of them, to be honest.
No, I don't think so either.
One of the other things you have to look at also with some of these guys is what they did outside of their playing career. Okay. Whether it's as a broadcaster or as a coach. Okay. Use John Madden as the example, going from coach to broadcaster. You can do the same thing with Bradshaw. There's stuff there. Our echo is back.
Yeah, came back.
Someone's got their
What?
I think somebody's got their TV on.
We have a question from the gallery. Jamie, turn down your TV, bud.
Absolutely not.
With Brad Holmes trade David Montgomery for CMC a week ago. I don't think so. That combo of Gibbs and Montgomery is
amazing.
1,000%. I would trade.
Are you freaking nuts, Dylan?
Yes.
I can tell.
I didn't hear what he said.
Jeremy, don't both your backs have over 1,000 yards already?
Yes.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
Second year in a row, I think, right?
Right. Both have 1,000 yards over scrimmage, not 1,000 yards rushing each.
Right.
And they're both in double digits.
And they're both in double-digit touchdowns. I wouldn't trade either one of them for Saquon Barkley right now.
I would trade both. I would trade Saquon for both. I would trade both of them for Saquon.
12 touchdowns versus 25 means you're delusional.
Yeah. That combination, I mean, it's been a long time since there's been a combination like that.
Is it me? Do I have the echo for it?
I think so.
Maybe close one.
I'm gonna me.
Do up.
Dylan.
Hello. Mic check 1 2.
Hey, it was him.
Hello.
Dylan.
Okay.
Hello.
Back.
I don't hear.
Yeah,
I hear that.
Who's Orlando and Corey and James and all these people that are tuning in?
They're people from my channel. I shared it to my Lions channel. These are all Lions fans that watch me every day.
Oh, cool.
Dylan is back.
if
Backman.
I'm trying to
Jamie.
think if there's
Now Joseph just
There's
said
not-
it's you.
there's not
Anyway.
one running back that I would trade for those two.
No,
I
I mean,
I-
Gibbs is almost at 1,000 yards rushing.
They like
Jeremy,
my
they
dad.
might both get to 1,000 rushing.
They're like, I think they're both under 100 yards away right now.
No, Montgomery's only got 720.
Okay,
But
but he can get
Gibbs
there.
has got 975.
Oh, by the
Yeah,
way,
Gibbs is the fourth leading rusher in the league.
by the way, Jamie, I'm sorry, but I don't think your Lions will win the next game.
What?
I don't think your Lions
Can
will
we
win the next
talk
game.
about why the Bears came back in this game on Thursday?
What are you talking about? The Lions?
Okay, now we need to work on this echo because it's drowning each other out.
Jeremy, we've had this problem the whole time before you were here. We haven't been able to figure it out.
It's been a few weeks now.
Is it me? Is it
If
me?
you got a suggestion, I mean, that's great.
One at a time. I'm gonna mute myself.
Check.
Hello.
Okay, I'll mute myself now.
Okay, that's not me. All right,
Whoa.
let's see if we got an echo still.
I don't have an echo. That's good.
No, it's coming from Adam.
Yep.
We determined that last time.
Yep, we just had to do it this way. It was a process of elimination. You know what's funny? He moved his jerseys and now he has an echo again. Free show.
I'm gonna get Joe Burrow to sack you, Adam.
Okay, now you're saying you don't think the Lions can win the next two games.
Correct.
Okay, and I understand what you're saying. But at the same time, I have heard all season that ever since Aiden Hutchinson went down, oh, how are you going to beat the Vikings? We beat them. How are you going to beat the Texans? With Goff's worst game statistically in his career, and we still beat them. Then you had, oh, how are you going to beat the Packers at their house? It's supposed to be cold and rainy. Who was the team that looked like they couldn't play outside? Was it the Packers or was it the Lions?
Lions.
Looked like they could not play outside. The Lions
Well, the
beat them
Lions look
24.
like they could play.
Yeah, we
play
beat them 24-14, and if they wouldn't have scored a garbage time touchdown and a 2-point conversion, guess what? We'd have beat them at the exact same score we beat the Colts by, 24-6. You're still muted, Big Rich. So let's go over the statistics of the Packers this season versus the Lions this season. Because I have the breakdown right here. I wrote it all down.
Well, while you're looking at that, let me ask you a question because you know this better than anybody else that's going to be talking about this right now. I think a lot of people's issue too is they're so concerned about Detroit's pass rush that they underrate the linebackers and defensive backs because those corners and safeties have been playing tremendous ball, run and pass. Now, to me, the Anzalone injury is bigger, and I know this is probably going to catch all kinds of flack from people, but I think the Anzalone injury might even be bigger than the Hutchinson injury.
Well, Anzalone, I don't think the Anzalone injury is as big because he's going to be back by week 17 because it was a clean break, no damage, no nothing. That being said, since Hutchins went out, we are still managing the same amount of pressures without somebody generating Aiden Hutchinson's pressures because we dialed up the blitz. If you look at our blitz rate prior to Aiden Hutchinson being hurt, it was abysmal. It was 14.6%. Since he's been hurt, we've managed to raise it on the season to 44.8. To be able to do that, that means you're blitzing over 50% of the time in that 7-week span. That's how we're creating pressures. And as a matter of fact, for the first time since Aiden Hutchinson was injured, Darius Smith had 8 pressures, which is the most we've had since by any one player since Aiden Hutchinson was hurt. And he had 1.5 sacks. In the game that we had 4 sacks from Aiden Hutchinson, did we win that game? The answer is no. We lost to the Bucs in that game.
No.
So, total defense, it's a wash right here. They're 13th, we're 11th. Both teams give up just a little over 320 plus yards, but the difference is total touchdowns. The Lions have given up 20 total touchdowns this season, and the Packers defense has given up 28. In the passing game, they're 18th, we're 25th, but the disparity is in passing touchdowns again. They've given up 16, we've given up 10, and that's with Caleb Williams getting 3 of them the last game. And they are a second half team that can't finish a game. That's what we found out last week. Run defense. They give up 106.6 on the ground and 10 touchdowns. We've given up 93.5 and 9. Scoring defense. They average 20 points against. We average 16.9. We're tied for 3rd. They're tied for 9th. Run zone defense. We give up a score 41.9% of the time. They give it up 56.1. Third down defense. We're second in the league, only to the Ravens, 31.7%. The Packers are 12th, 35%. Offensively, it's pretty much the same thing. They average 382 on the total offense. We average 395. They have 36 touchdowns. We have 47. That's the biggest disparity. On the ground, they have 12 rushing touchdowns. We have 21. So, you got 10 by one guy and 11 by the other on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ralph. Thanks for tuning in. He's a Pittsburgh guy that comes on my NFL show.
How's it going? Glad to have you on.
But here's the thing. Everybody says, oh, my God, how are they going to get it done? Did you guys see the 4 additions that the Lions added this weekend?
Yeah.
We added a former Pro Bowler in Quan Alexander to linebacker room. We added Jamal Adams, a safety / linebacker who's a former Pro Bowler. And we got 2 defensive lineman bodies to help out with the rotation to help keep legs fresh. We got Jonah Williams from the Rams, who was a rotational guy there, played in 48 games, had 2.5 sacks, 22.5 tackles for loss. That's a big guy to have in your rotation because he's 6'5" and 276 pounds. And then we also picked up Miles Adams, I believe it was, off the Titans practice squad, was it? Or was it the Seahawks? I can't remember. I think it's the Titans.
I think it was the Titans.
And he was a situational pass rusher.
Yeah.
So, and we dropped the guy that shit himself when he got the sack on C.J. Stroud. So, he got picked up by the team where at least they have the same color pants. The Browns.
Well, I mean, when you look at the remaining schedules for Detroit and for Minnesota, I don't, the toughest game Detroit has obviously is Buffalo.
The Bills.
I would argue Thursday night's tougher.
No, it's not.
Especially if Josh Jacobs doesn't play, it's not.
Josh Jacobs might not be playing.
Yeah, there's a distinct possibility he doesn't play.
He got hurt the last game.
But Minnesota has the Packers, and then they got Seahawks, Packers, Lions the last 3. The biggest thing with that is you got 3 teams that are fighting for playoff spots. Once the Lions get past the Bills, the Bears and the Niners, they're both road games, but those are 2 teams that'll be packed in by that point. I don't think Minnesota is going to be playing or even contending for a division at that point. They're going to be fighting for a wild card that they're not really going to have to fight for because I think they're going to have the number 1 wild card by that point.
And there it is again.
I still have echo.
Yeah.
And the one thing that we've been able to do is stop really good rushing attacks all year. We held Kenneth Walker to 80 yards. We held Joe Mixon to under 70 yards. We held Aaron Jones to under 50 yards. We held, listen to the names I'm talking about that we've held under 100 yards rushing. DeAndre Swift, everybody says, oh, he's going to run all over the Bears, the Lions. It's a revenge game. He got 39 yards.
Yeah.
So Jack Campbell is you want to know what's crazy? You want to know who our biggest run stuffing linebacker was, and that injury hurts more. It was Malcolm Rodriguez. It wasn't Alex Anzalone. Our best run stuffing linebacker was Malcolm Rodriguez. That's why we went and signed a guy like Quan Alexander, a guy that's a little long in the tooth. He doesn't have the pass rush ability anymore, but guess what he does? He hits the crap out of running back. And we got guys that haven't been able to stay healthy for more than 8 games a year. You know what's funny? If you include the Super Bowl, the Lions only have 8 games left on the season at most.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamal Adams, I love this quote from him. You can't make this stuff up. When he got the call about joining our practice squad, he said, I'd be happy to. And I'll tell you his exact quote. Where is it here? They didn't have to call me. They didn't need me. They've been doing phenomenal. So just to get that call from a first-class organization like the Detroit Lions, it was a no-brainer for me. And he wasn't signed to the active roster. He was signed to the practice squad. You know how much we get him for the rest of the season? $375,000. That caliber of talent for that cheap.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Jamal Adams just wants to win. I mean, he just hasn't been somewhere where he could really win. He thought that was going to be the case with the Jets, and it wasn't. And he's one of those guys that if you need him for a couple of games, he's really gonna. You're not losing anything off of what you currently have.
Yeah, and
same thing with Alexander.
And we also held Josh Jacobs in a game where he should have been able to run better, well under 100 yards the last time we played the Packers, because it was a wet day when running backs usually break free of a bunch of tackles. We're talking about indoors, no rain, no snow, no cold, in our element. And I hope everybody has been making the same mistakes that every other team has, because what everybody doesn't realize is after the playoffs were done, we changed to the monofilament turf from the slit turf we used to have. And I think that's why teams have been sliding and falling on their butts a lot at Ford Field. They're wearing the wrong cleat.
Well, Jeremy, wait a minute. When the Packers and Lions played last Thanksgiving, we
had 3 offensive linemen on the IR.
And yet Green Bay won that game going away.
We had 3 offensive linemen on the IR. Yes, you're good, Adam. I don't hear an echo now.
I don't hear Adam.
But I don't hear you. Is your mic unplugged now? I see you're unmuted, but I don't hear you at all. You're talking about, we had Taylor Decker out, we had Jonah Jackson out, and Frank Ragnow out last year. That's why they had pressure all over Jared Goff. That's why Goff fumbled the ball under the pressure. The only guy we might be missing is Taylor Decker. We have Graham Glasgow. We have Frank Ragnow. We have Kevin Zeitler, who is I think the second highest rated right guard in the league right now. And we also still have the best right tackle in the league rated right now in Penei Sewell play.
I'm going to say this, the best tackle in football in Penei Sewell.
How big was that pull? Good grief. When they drafted him, I was like, oh, I wanted Pittsburgh to get him.
You want to know how crazy that draft was? That was my first time doing a live draft reaction show where I was live, and I predicted all 7 picks in order an hour before the draft.
Nice.
Wow. I did a live, opinion show on the radio station for that draft because I had a kid from Philly that was my board op that did the show with me.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all his big thing was because that was the year Swift came out, if I remember right. And Cosme, Sam Cosme, came out the same year. And he was talking up all this stuff about Cosme and all that. And I kept telling him, Cosme is good. He ain't the best tackle in this draft by any stretch. And I knew Penei Sewell was going to. I wanted him to come to Pittsburgh so bad I could taste it. Obviously, you guys snatched him up, before we had a chance. But man, yeah, I think he might be. I think Dylan might be right. He might be the best tackle in football.
He might be, but I'm just saying, right tackle right now, he is the number 1 rated guy. The number 1 rated guy when he's on the field at left tackle is Trent Williams. The problem is he can't stay on the field either, which is another reason why the 49ers have been struggling. He's long in the tooth. You know what the bad part is they got all those big contracts, and they need to do a gut and a rebuild of the 49ers offensively. The defense is still good. They just need a better D coordinator. The stupidest thing they did is once Salah was fired, not call him and say, hey, you want to come back and have your job back? Because that defensive coordinator right now, they got the exact same guys that was on there last year when they were the third-ranked defense, and they can't do anything.
Well, from what I gather, though, the whole deal when he left, it was basically one of those, there were bridges burned on both ends.
Oh,
I wouldn't see Salah going back to San Francisco in any way, shape, or form. But I'll tell you where it would be really scary if he ended up going next year.
Chicago.
And I've heard talks about it. Seattle.
I've heard Chicago too being mentioned.
I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago was on the table, but I heard Seattle and went, ooh, that's scary. If he ends up going to Seattle.
James Burgess, I can't name 3 players I'd trade for Penei at any position. Maybe Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Other than that, no.
Maybe the guy
Saquon Barkley. You don't need him, but
no. With what we have on the roster, you wouldn't trade for Saquon Barkley or King Henry right now.
No,
we have more rushing touchdowns than both of them combined.
Yeah,
I think about that.
Combined?
Oh wait, no, they're at 25 now.
Yeah, right? I was gonna say, I think it's right the same. I think it's the same.
Yeah. So, but still, we have 2 guys on the same roster that's doing what 2 of the best guys are doing on 2 different teams. You see what I'm getting at there, Dylan?
No.
And does anybody else like me think that King Henry hit was almost as dirty as the Trevor Lawrence hit?
By the way, what did
maybe
should the NFL have kicked out the Texans linebacker for the rest of the year?
Yes,
absolutely. There's no place in the game for that type of hit.
And I still say, because of what happened on the sideline, why J-Mo reacted and threw the football in Tariq Davison's face, he should either get a fine or suspension for what he did. Because he's outside, he doesn't have his helmet on, he's on the sideline, J-Mo's going backwards, and he trips him and tries to hit him as he falls.
Well, and there's one thing about that, too, and when I saw the hit, it immediately made me think about, and I cannot remember who made the hit. But Jeremy, you'll remember this. Go back to late 80s. Steve Pallor for the Cowboys goes sliding against Kansas City. And he got absolutely mashed. And but that was back in the day when you could play football and there wasn't a flag thrown. He got absolutely hammered on the same kind of play. He slid and the guy took his head off and wasn't a flag thrown, which definitely tells you the difference in today's game compared to that game, to late 1980s.
Well,
dirty hit, yeah.
There was a guy from Detroit that kind of did the same thing at an end of the game in the mid-90s, I believe it was. Let me go look that guy up because somebody sent me a picture and the article of it.
Yeah, I just remember that was what that hit made me think about, was when Steve Pallor just got absolutely smoked. And
the safety's name was Kennedy that I'm thinking of.
Cortez, wait, it wouldn't be Cortez Kennedy, right?
And it was on Jake Delhomme.
Oh boy.
Benoit Kennedy.
Daylight coming, you got to Delhomme.
We talking about the hit on Jacksonville's quarterback?
Yeah. One of the dirtiest hits we've seen in a long time.
I've kind of had it with the guy who hit him, because if you look at his last couple games, he's been flagged for personal fouls and late hits. So I'm not too fond of Algier or Shazier, however you say his last name right now.
Al-Shahir. It's spelled Shahir, and that's how I'm going to say it. He looks like he needs to be practicing with Shakira and not playing NFL.
Well, and Evan, you're right. I mean, they even said in the memo from the NFL today that part of the degree of suspension that he got and all that was because of past egregious things. He's had a number of unsportsmanlikes and things of that nature during the season.
2019 NFC Championship game, 49ers versus Bucks, when he tried to choke Tom Brady. He literally grabbed Tom Brady by the throat under his helmet.
Yeah.
Then
I mean, as much as I can't stand Brady, that's not good.
Yeah. You're talking about he was going to basically, if the refs wouldn't have been standing there, he was going to big show him. He was going to choke slam him.
Choke slam him. Yeah. Yeah.
And I brought that up because I see the AJ Styles picture behind you. So
there you go.
Wrestling reference. Got to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Like everybody who's watching out here, no matter what algorithm you're on, I don't care which one it is, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, make sure you smash that like button like it's the people's elbow.
There you go.
I agree with that.
By the way, Evan, has Jameis Winston thrown another pick six yet?
No, but he's playing better than your quarterback.
Yeah, our quarterback's dead.
No, you got Mac Jones.
Now, but before that.
Mac Jones. The Mac Jones experiment continues.
Mac Jones. Jones.
I'm going to say this right now, Dylan, and you're going to hate me for it. But if you go look at their career stats, guess who has more wins than Trevor Lawrence, and he's considered a bust?
Mac Jones.
I know exactly where you're going with this. I saw the stats. Go ahead.
Daniel Jones.
I need a beer now.
Daniel Jones has more wins and more touchdowns than Trevor Lawrence.
I need a beer now.
On a bad
I got news. I got news for you. Daniel Jones gets a chance to play somewhere with a decent team. I'm not saying he's going to become a superstar, but I think he's going to be a hell of a serviceable player.
He's going to be a nice, serviceable. Yeah, he can play. He's had a bad O-line. He's had bad receivers. No running game other than Saquon. But Saquon was only helping
Tyrone
1 year.
Tracy hasn't been bad, though.
May I say something on Daniel Jones?
Yep.
No.
Next year, he's in the AFC North. He's either a Brown or a Steeler.
He ain't a Steeler.
Yes. Look. Wait. Just hear me out. The reason I say the Steelers is because I think it's going to be obvious that y'all move on from Justin Fields. And if you think about it, you give Daniel Jones a team that has a good tight end. Okay, not good, but decent. A good run game. A good offensive line. And a defense he can rely on. I think Daniel Jones is the best fit out of anybody that's going to be in the market for you guys. You're not going to be in a place to draft a quarterback.
I know
you're only going to have you only have Fields and Russell Wilson. You don't have them for that long on contract.
Good luck with that.
Here's all I know, and this is no doubt, no question about it, because I saw several people posting this stuff on Twitter, and they've all lost their minds. Aaron Rodgers ain't coming to Pittsburgh.
No.
I'm telling y'all that right here, right now.
Absolutely.
Ain't coming to Pittsburgh.
I'm going to call it right now. Listen to this. Because he's been a fan of him the entire time, which is why he couldn't beat him in the playoffs. He's going to end up in San Francisco.
Ain't no way.
That's where he's from.
Ain't no way.
Watch. They're not re-signing Purdy with how he played this year. Watch.
I'll make a prediction on Aaron Rodgers.
It's already been leaked out by other 49ers beat writers that they're interested in acquiring Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going to tell you why John Lynch ain't going to do that. Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. If you are the 49ers, you can't take a risk and go get A-Rod. You can't. Even I see a comment by Michael M. He's not going to Minnesota either. They can't afford it. You saw
Danny
way
Dimes
too many.
I think Daniel Jones is staying right there in Minnesota because they're going to re-sign him because they don't have a quarterback on the roster other than J.J. McCarthy. And they'll be able to
get Daniel Jones a lot cheaper than A-Rod.
They'll be able to re-sign him for like $10 million. You watch.
I'll tell you what I think.
But that's who the Jags should have picked up as soon as he hit the waivers, because you guys would have been first in the waiver wire because of where you were at that point. You guys could have had Daniel Jones, and you'd have had no drop-off in talent. You wouldn't have had to play Mac Jones versus the Lions.
Wait, they got better off. Mac Jones just needs the right situation.
Mac Jones has been awful. Problem is
no. He
came out as the most NFL ready quarterback. The problem is the ceiling was shrinking while the floor was rising like the Willy Wonka hallway.
And I'm gonna tell you why you wrong. And Rich knows where this is about to go. The reason you're wrong is look at the success for quarterbacks who have the most starts in college football. He went to a situation where he got drafted by Bill Belichick and had the non-Christmas Santa Claus as his offensive coordinator. If you put Mac Jones in a stable situation, he'll be fine, just fine. You got to give him more than a chance than what he got in New England. And to be honest, if anybody's going to give him a good chance and good coaching before he goes anywhere, it's Doug Peterson. Even though I've been on the record shitting on Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson hasn't been a good coach since he won the Super Bowl with his backup QB.
And why do you think he won it with a backup QB? Because he knows how to talk to a quarterback. Just because let's not act like the Jaguars are what they were when they had Blake Bortles at quarterback.
Why isn't Trevor Lawrence any better?
Because he doesn't have anything around him.
That roster, 100%, is 10 times better than the Giants roster. And there's no
everybody's better than the Giants roster. That's
right.
Like,
and there's
no. That's like no. I'm not giving you credit for that. I'm not gonna let you stand on that. That's the Giants have what the Browns had when we went 1-31.
And you know what? Yet the Jacksonville has the exact same team successes as the New York Giants the past 3 years.
But we're talking 3 years. How long has Doug Peterson been there?
3 years.
What has he had to clean up in those 3 years?
He took the worst NFL coach in history. He's been there the exact same time as Brian Daboll. And Brian Daboll was cleaning up Joe Judge's bullshit. So Joe
Judge's bullshit wasn't Urban Meyer. And I know Urban Meyer's bullshit because I know him personally, and I know what he did at Ohio State because I had guys who played there.
I understand, but the difference is that roster was better than the Giants roster coming into that year.
Roster doesn't mean anything if you don't have the right mentality. You got to build these players up. And we're sitting here talking about a team that got decimated and went through the absolute worst season in NFL history from a head coach standpoint. And now we're blaming Doug Peterson because they've been trashed for 3 years. But yet, if any of those 3 years they have one good season, we'd be sitting here giving the same praise we gave Daboll when he first got to New York. Am I wrong?
The problem is, in the NFL, if you haven't fixed a team in 3 years, you're not going to fix a team. That's been the mark all along.
And that's the same problem that Cleveland has had for so long. And that's the problem that Jacksonville has had for so long. That's the problem that all of these bottom franchises have. They sit there and they only give guys 1 to 3 years. That's the problem. That's the whole problem.
Well, let me tell you this. I don't know what it is, but these back teams just keep digging deeper and deeper holes. Look at what the Jets have done. They're going to dig deeper hole. I mean, the Raiders have been bad. the last 20 years. The Browns, other than maybe a few good points, have been bad. The Bears are bad. I mean, the Indianapolis Colts wasted Andrew Luck's career because they never gave him an offensive line, a running game, or wide receivers. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to end up wasting Trevor Lawrence's career because he's playing behind. Because he's getting killed every single week. Travis Etienne keeps, I don't know what he's doing. And right now, the Jaguars need to get a tough-minded head coach. They need to get like a Sean Payton, Sean McVay, or who's the guy in LA? Jim Harbaugh.
You're muted still, buddy.
So
You're muted on the show.
Actually, Dylan, I agree with you. The thing is, the only part that I question is what does it mean? What does it change if you get another good coach and you don't give him more than 2 to 3 years?
This thing working?
Because we've been sitting. Yeah, it's working. We've been sitting here arguing about. We've been sitting here in Cleveland arguing about Coach Stefanski, and he ain't the problem. You can see that by how Jameis and the rest of these guys is playing.
I mean, there are 2 or 3 teams.
So
there are 2 or 3 teams that should not fire head coaches: Cleveland, Cincinnati, New York. Because I mean, look at Cleveland.
Cincinnati definitely needs to fire their coach.
No.
They need to fire their coach because does he coach well? Yes, but is he bad in the locker room? Absolutely. They need to fire the coach, the GM, and the owner needs to sell. I'm so serious because you can't sit here and tell me that what was that? Joe Burrow got to the Super Bowl in his second year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you let your safety, your star safety go. You let your top corner from that team go. You let DJ Reader go. You let Tyler Boyd go. Didn't replace him. You let Joe Mixon go. He looks like a new running back. You let him go.
Well, Evan.
Okay, but how much responsibility is that?
They need to reset over there.
Letting Joe Mixon go. That's what everybody's doing in the NFL. They're not paying the running backs a second contract. That's a trend now, letting certain running backs go to other.
What's wrong with Chase Brown? He seems to be filling in just fine.
Yeah, I like Chase Brown.
He is.
The problem
running backs are a dime a dozen now. I always keep saying
the problem is that
would you take Chase Brown this year over the year that? Wait. Would you take Chase? It's not because they let go DJ Reader. But here's the question to that, Adam. Would you take what Joe Mixon is giving Houston, or would you take Chase Brown?
I'd be taking James Mixon all day
because Joe Mixon had the same issue that Chase and T are having right now, and that's about getting paid. That's the same reason DJ left. That's the same reason Justin Simmons left.
You don't need to pay them a second contract anymore.
Or Jesse Bates, one of the two.
Huh?
You can only pay so many guys on a team. That's what the Cowboys are running. You can only pay so many guys.
And right, and
not
Rich,
really. They're getting a lot of guys pretty inexpensively right now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I kind of agree that there's
you don't
two
need
of them.
to pay. Like I said, and the 49ers are kind of learning the same thing. Look at what happened when they gave Christian McCaffrey all that money. He played well, but that's still a lot of money for a running back.
The problem is wide receivers
that ain't that's not
$30 million.
Right. One guy isn't the problem.
The problem they have is
good.
Well, the problem with the Bengals is that they have a cheapskate in an owner. How do you let Joe Mixon go? And if the Bengals even think about letting T. Higgins walk, they're freaking.
They had to let Joe Mixon go with all the shit that happened to him. Joe, it was better off. Like that Mixon shit was getting.
When you don't pay the running back and you let him go, it actually allows you to pay for more important positions. Like it allows you to pay for a revamped offensive line.
What
quarterback?
What revamped offensive line? I see Joe
build
Burrow
around the running back. That's that's how the
league is. Wasn't Joe Mixon in a mix of shit in Cincinnati?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, early in his career. Wait, no. He was in trouble. No, he didn't. He was in trouble in the beginning of his year. The reason that he left is the same reason that T. Higgins and Jamar Chase will be gone in the next 3 years. It's because they paid Joe. They let every other fundamental piece on that team go, and they're not paying anybody else.
They're paying Hendrickson.
The same situation with Carson
Palmer. Of everybody saying, "Oh, they let the running back go." That's how the league is now. They let him go because you don't pay them. It's a dime a dozen.
But he was your offensive. He was your safety valve, and you couldn't replace him. Chase Brown is not doing what Joe Mixon did. Even at Joe Mixon's worst, he was not giving the same effect that Joe Mixon did to that offense.
I'm always gonna stick with the running backs a dime a dozen position because it is.
But they're not, because here's one thing here's something I'll throw to you, okay? Think about who arguably, think about who the 3 best running backs in football are this year. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. What do all 3 of those guys have in common?
They left
previous teams.
Those teams were shitty before they left.
And look at what James Cook's doing on a rookie deal.
But to use your logic, Evan, and this is part of the problem with NFL and professional sports in general, you want the coaches to get time, but you want to be flipping players around like baseball cards.
No, I don't.
Aren't staying. They won't sign 10-year contracts where they're going to stay.
I don't need you to sign a 10-year contract. I don't need you to sign a 10-year contract. No, you don't. Because look at what Cleveland has done. Look at all the guys that they've re-signed. Every guy that they've re-signed so far that is on this team that has made major developments since Kevin Stefanski has been here have been guys that have wanted to be traded or let go. But they gave him considerable market contracts. You're telling me that these teams couldn't keep their centerpieces on a team-friendly deal that was at market value for over 2 to 3 years.
That's true, Evan. I agree with you on that.
Your key to that statement, Evan, is market value. The way that the market value is right now for certain positions, you can't have key players at every position. Because by the time, and the 49ers are seeing it, the Cowboys are seeing it, if you pay your running back and your 2 receivers and 1 pass rusher, you've used half your salary cap.
Exactly, Rick.
Salary cap is a myth. Salary cap is a complete myth. No, I'm not going to let this slide. No, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Wait. No. Yes, it is here.
No. You're telling me that the Cleveland Browns, if they work this thing out the right way, if they can finagle it, could go sign Mahomes, Saquon, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, all these guys, and get away with it.
They couldn't. It's not baseball.
Rich,
baseball,
Rich, you're talking out your ass, and you know it.
No. You just said that it's a myth, but it's not a myth. There's a reason why the Saints keep getting worse every year, because they're always over the cap.
What are you talking about?
Listen to what I'm saying. Don't even argue until I get my point done. I waited for you. It's my turn. They sit there. The Saints are over the cap every year because they kick the can down the road, because they're still paying for all the dead cap from when Drew Brees retired, because they didn't make him give back the signing bonus, which turned into dead cap. That is what's going on. So every year they got to restructure everybody on the roster, move it down the road just to sign their draft picks. That's why they get garbage players in free agency. That's why they let their players that walk go after they get to the end of their current contracts now. So if salary cap is a myth, that would not be happening.
So it is a myth. And you know why? Is because exactly what you just said. They've been in cap hell for how long? And they keep signing guys. Cleveland has been in cap hell since we made this goddamn contract with Deshaun Watson. Nope, wait. They've been in the cap hell with Deshaun Watson this whole time. We still had Amari Cooper on a contract. We still had David Njoku as a top 5 tight end on a contract. We re-signed Conklin. We gave Batonio and Wyatt Teller big money. We gave Nick Chubb big money. We gave Myles Garrett. We gave Myles Garrett big money. We went out and gave Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney big money. We gave Delpit big money. We gave Ward big money. And we still can make those moves. So to sit here and say that the salary cap is an issue, it's not. Because you had the same issue in San Francisco.
Okay, now I'm going to rebuttal that because the average per year may be X amount of dollars, but the way they work out the contracts, they backload it until it starts to become detrimental to the cap. And then guess what? They rework the contracts. That's how it works. Salary cap's not a myth. There is a hard cap every year. And if you're over it, you lose draft pick compensation. The owners are fined and lose a percentage of their shared revenue. So there is the thing.
But it's the same in the NBA too, and yet we still see super teams. So to sit here and say that
12
they
guys
can't
on an NFL team.
The NBA is a soft salary cap /
then why is the luxury tax so high for you to have 3 max players? Why is the penalty so high for max players then?
Wait. Look at how it's structured. If you look, the base salary is this. And then there's a minor penalty for this level. And then there's a minor penalty for that level. And then there's the hard hit for 3 max players. There's a difference there. That's a soft cap league.
Exactly, Jeremy.
And you were saying, Evan, you were talking about those salaries. You were talking about those salaries, right? Okay, yes. Garrett is $20 million on the cap. Denzel Ward is 12. Joel Bitonio is 12. Teller is 11. And Njoku is 9. Chubb is 6. Judy is 4. Delpit is 3. Hicks is 2. Winston is 1. Tillman is 1. Ford
You're talking
is
about guys
1.
on rookie contracts.
Winston?
No. On
Tillman.
what rookie contract is James Winston on?
Tillman is a rookie.
Okay.
And by the end of the season, Jameis Winston's going to be paid his bonus because of how he's playing.
Okay.
Keep
you don't
going.
think you're going to draft a quarterback?
But you're also listing numbers of guys that have been restructured, which is what I'm trying to get to the point of. We're talking about teams that are always in cap hell and keep kicking the can down the road. These guys have millions and billions of dollars. They can keep kicking the can around the road.
Counts towards the cap. Restructuring deals count towards that.
I understand that.
But wait, only your top 51 salaries count towards the cap. So all of those league minimum guys, guess what? They don't count towards the cap.
Right.
And Jeremy, actually, a fun fact: in 2024, nobody was actually over the cap. I looked it up for 2024
because everybody restructured everybody throughout the season so they could get to the point where they could sign their rookies to the highest deals of rookies ever because of the first pick overall and Caleb Williams and his contract.
Right. And I mean, when you look at what the dead cap money is for some of these guys, and I'm going to use your Browns, but I can go into other teams.
The Browns currently have over $44 million in 2024.
They're never going to make this happen. But if they were to cut Myles Garrett, that's $56 million dead cap hit next year. Denzel Ward would be 54. Bitonio and Keller would be 28. Conklin would be 29, and Njoku would be 30. So, yes, they're moving it down, but at some point, if they let the guy go, that money comes to fruition. Everybody, that's why the Cowboys cannot and will not get rid of Dak Prescott.
Right.
If Dak Prescott gets cut, it's $75 million on the cap next year.
The biggest problem
because of all these guaranteed contracts. That's the problem. The guaranteed money is the problem.
Right.
We're also
go ahead.
We're also saying that, like, the guys, and I'm guilty of this too when I say this, but we're talking about guys that aren't gonna leave these franchises. Like when Miles's contract is up in 2 years, he's not walking. They're not letting it happen. Like
right, and an edge rusher is at market value. The edge rushers are the ones getting paid all the big money now.
He's not leaving. Like, let's be honest. They can get a new quarterback in Dallas. They still not gonna cut him. Are they? And let's be honest by the way that the GM does his drafting. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, Rich. Is he really gonna take Shedeur number 1, or is he gonna go get the best player available with his number 1 pick?
Ashton Jonty.
that one there, it depends who's doing the draft. And we've talked about this. If Jerry was in control of the draft, he'd take Shedeur no matter what. If Steven is controlling the draft, which is who has been controlling the draft, and they have that number 1 pick, he's taking Travis Hunter.
Yep.
Or he's going to take that I can't think of the tackle's name. I cannot think of the tackle's name.
The guy from Texas.
Yeah. But they would take that kind of position. Jerry's in it for the sizzle, Steven's in it for the steak. Right. And that's what ends up happening. But I see absolutely no way, unless Shedeur wants to become a wide receiver, that Shedeur Sanders is a Dallas Cowboy.
So then let me ask you the same thing about the 49ers. If they were having a shitty year and they were in the top of the draft, are they taking the best player available or a team need?
It's going to depend on
John Lynch has done best person available every year if you look at it.
Yeah.
So his draft board.
So with Cleveland, we take the best player available. What's another team that's been in cap hell?
I'm going to refute you on one thing. The problem with the Browns is they picked up the one guy as assistant GM you never should have, and Bob Quinn. The only thing he knows how to scout is offensive linemen. Everybody else, you should listen to what he says and not draft him.
I don't disagree with that, but the biggest hole that's coming up.
Well, no, there's no problem with drafting offensive linemen. Well, those are important positions you need to have. You got to have an offensive line.
But that's the biggest. That's the biggest thing we need right now is to revamp the offensive line.
And
because the only consistent thing we got right now is a left tackle, and that's only if he stays healthy.
And I say good GM draft actually in a different way than just BPA. It's BPAN. Best player available of need is a better GM than the guy that just takes best player available.
The best player available is always the best GM, because if you go by the best player available of need, he has to be the perfect fit, and that's never a thing in the draft.
Jahmyr Gibbs at 12 to the Lions refutes that statement.
That's one guy. Give me another.
Jack Campbell at 18. Sam Laporta at 34.
What did I miss?
All in the same draft. You look
right, but those were the best players available on the board.
No, Jahmyr Gibbs was not considered the best player available on the board. Everybody went nuts because they all thought it should have been either a safety or a cornerback at that time.
But they had already drafted 2 guys the year before. So why would they go with another safety?
No, we didn't. Oh, we drafted Kirby Joseph. We did go with another safety. We still needed a safety on the other side because Tracy Walker is trash. That's why he's not on the team and he's on the practice squad for the 49ers.
I agree, but again, best player available. What safety would have been? What safety was picked in that area that would have been a viable fit for that defense?
That's the point. The one that was considered a top 15 pick was talked about, and we got him at 45. That was Brian Branch. It was talked about all that Brian Branch should have been a first-round talent, top 15.
Agreed. So should the same with JOK. But you take the best player available.
But Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't considered the best player available. He was the best player available of need on Brad Holmes' draft board.
Right. Jahmyr Gibbs got drafted ahead of, in the first round, Jahmyr Gibbs got drafted ahead of Jackson Smith-Njigba, who was higher on the board than him. Broderick Jones, who was higher than him on the board. Will McDonald, Christian Gonzalez, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Dalton Kincaid, and that's just guys that went in the first round.
And Michael Myers.
No, I'm just going off the first round.
And with those guys, with those guys you listed, do they fit the culture that is in Detroit?
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's a best player available of need is what Brad Holmes does.
Right. I mean, would Broderick Jones have fit Detroit? Yeah, probably.
But would you have taken him and replaced the tackle that you have now, who was already on the roster?
Jeremy?
Which tackle was that?
Broderick Jones.
Broderick Jones, hell no. Look at what he's done now. Hindsight's 2020. At the time, hell yeah, I wanted Broderick Jones. I ain't gonna lie. Broderick Jones was like who we all wanted. We wanted him, or we wanted a defensive tackle. That's what we wanted.
And yet, that's why we sitting on a podcast, because what we want doesn't make sense. That's
I understand. But at the same time, I defended the pick of Gibbs when I looked into it deeper. I said, but we just signed Monty. I said, they're two different styles runners.
Yeah.
We're more than just on a podcast, Evan. I mean, podcasts are the thing now.
I understand that, and that's not the angle I'm trying to take, Jimmy. What I'm saying is that as fans, we all want somebody.
Right, and I agree with that. I get what you were. I get what you were saying. I was just saying, like, don't. I know you weren't trying to diss us and everything, but I feel the same way you do, Evan, about what we want isn't what the owners or what the teams want. That's what fans and podcasters have a hard time understanding.
And I still think the reason why
we think we could do it better than them, but the reality is we can't.
I think Bob Quinn was a big reason.
Question?
Go ahead,
Dylan. Did anybody get snow?
Oh, we've had snow, but it's gone.
We have 77 live viewers, actually.
Ain't it great?
I did. We got flurries, but nothing major. Now my camp.
I got about 2 inches here.
Yeah,
my camp got 56 inches up over there in Ashtabula.
Jamie, I almost said the thing that every guy says when somebody says something about inches. That's what she said.
My homeboy in Erie, PA. I called him the day they shut down I-90. He showed me his apartment. It was covered, like I would say 3/4 of the way. His car was like absolutely buried in everything. Couldn't get out the door to shovel out anything. It was bad. And yet over here in Cleveland, we can still see the grass through the snow.
I still think you guys ended up with the Browns with Deshaun Watson because Bob Quinn says, hell yeah, let's trade for him. He's the guy that cost me my job in Detroit.
On Thanksgiving.
I know they're gonna dump Deshaun Watson next year. I think.
I know.
He's gonna get paid to sit on the couch. He's getting paid to sit on the couch.
No, I'm saying I think they're gonna get rid of him.
There's something else gonna come out. You watch. Legally, there's gonna be something else that comes out that allows them to void that contract.
That's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you why. Because if something was, he was already playing shitty. Why didn't the last 2 women that came out this season make it void and impossible?
He made enough money. He paid them.
He's not coming back to the Browns next year.
But wait. You're missing one thing, guys. You can't void a contract on accusation. If he gets into a court of law and gets convicted, then it's conduct detrimental to the league, and they can void the contract.
That's what I'm saying.
As long as you could have 5,000 women accuse you. It doesn't matter. That's not going to make a lick of difference. But the minute that he gets convicted,
and he never
will come back and say, I agree with you. But the minute that happens, then Cleveland can void the contract.
The only way he's going to get convicted and get out of this contract is if it's a new woman. Every woman that has come about has been a part of an NDA,
right? Which
is why there's a settlement and nothing else. Because once the NFL and the FBI did the whole thing with the court, and he went to meet with Roger Goodell and everybody else, he handed every NDA over, every single one, with every woman he dealt with while in Houston.
Howdy, chicken nuggets.
If it happens that they make NDAs illegal, which is in the possible works for 2025 across the country, if NDAs become an illegal thing, that's going to straighten a lot of people out too. Because then guys that are doing stuff like Watson aren't going to be able to do the NDA stuff.
But that also I was going to bring that up as well, but that also brings the question of what the owners are going to do. Because these owners are the ones that are getting these women for these players. Not that these players can't get them by themselves, but we can all point to certain situations with any player on any team. And it also comes down to these owners. These owners allow this type of stuff. There's a reason why the owner got called out by one of the original 22 and gave the team to his son and stepped away. She said it herself. Why are we only? She said it herself. She said it. She was like, "Why are we only going after Deshaun? He's the one that kept introducing us. He's the one that keeps
the owner."
Exactly. So my question then becomes, what happens to the owners in the NFL?
Right.
Well, and it's not the thing is, it's not going to be grandfathered. It won't. From the way that I read, the way it would come across is that it wouldn't grandfather NDAs prior to the date it becomes law. So what it will do, it's not gonna do anything to the stuff that has happened, but it will do stuff to things that do happen. So at that point in time, then you're gonna start looking at, okay, these guys aren't going to be able to get these sorts of things and that kind of deal.
But here's the crazy thing: they can go back after that owner if they really want to. The owner is the one that hired all those supposed massage therapists. Which means, well, let's face it, they were call girls out of Houston. Come on now.
Right.
At this point.
Oh, yeah.
Because none of this was an issue until Houston wanted out of, or until Watson wanted out of Houston. None of it was an issue. Nothing came out. Then all of a sudden, boom. Oh, the Houston police received an anonymous tip. I was like, what?
The only reason I think these women, besides that one female, aren't willing to go against the owner is because of Tony Buzbee. But that's a conversation for a different day.
Right. That being said, who's your matchup this week? You guys play the Steelers in Pittsburgh, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we got a matchup right here on the screen. How about that?
They're not gonna like me, but I don't think Myles Garrett is done, because he still didn't get his flowers. And I know that the kind of guy that Myles is, if they don't double team him, I think he goes at it again. And for whatever reason, under Kevin Stefanski, when it comes against teams that are in the AFC North, they just play different. They do. And I really think that we have a chance. Honestly, I really think we have a chance to not only mess up the division, but come in second, if not win it, as far as division games go. We've only lost one. We can beat the Bengals.
You can, and I still subscribe. I think now Cincinnati's, basically packing it in, knowing that they're not going to make the playoffs. But I think it goes back to the thing of the home and home. The way I always look at the AFC North is home and home. So, Cleveland got the Steelers in Cleveland. Okay, that's fine. This week it's at Heinz, and it's Heinz Field. I don't give three shits what that Acrisure, whatever. It's Heinz Field, God damn it.
They changed the name. I know.
We still call it the Jake. I'm right there with you, Ritz.
I still call it the Jake. I'm always going to call it the Jake.
I still call the Raiders Oakland. What are you talking about?
There you go. So, and when they come to Pittsburgh, I think Pittsburgh's going to win.
Oakland's a dumpster fire.
I still call Washington the Foreskins because they were the Redskins before.
Right, but you can't call it.
I always called them the Potato Skins, but okay.
A better city now, a team that was in a worse city than Vegas.
Right? The Redskins might be going back to the Redskins, right?
Yeah, because they did a poll of Native Americans in and surrounding DC, and got an approval rate of 92% from Native Americans on the Redskins name.
Right.
On top of the fact that the Braves did the pump fake and said, if Cleveland does it, we'll do it. And then we did it, and everybody got upset. And then the Braves were like, yeah, no, we're not going to do it because Florida State didn't do it. And all these other universities did.
Well, how in the name of God did Cleveland not go with the obvious choice for the baseball team?
Which was?
The Rockers.
They can't. The WNBA and NBA on that name.
Yep.
The Cleveland Rockers.
Yes, that was we had a WNBA team in the 90s through the early 2000s.
That being said, man, some of these team names, but the Guardians thing, there was a poll done at the time, and it wasn't about the Indians name that they had a problem with. It was your cartoonish mascot. It was Chief
Wahoo.
So if you guys would have just changed the mascot, nobody would have had a problem with the name. Yep,
we love it out here.
That logo has been around since the freaking 50s.
But that is what the Native Americans had a problem with. It wasn't the left. It wasn't the different. The reason why Daniel Snyder changed the name to the football team and then to the Commanders is because he was receiving pressure from all of the left there in Washington, D.C., and he was already under a congressional investigation.
Even though every year Dan Snyder kept saying we're not going to change. Dan Snyder kept saying we're not going to change
until he was under investigation by a congressional board. You're right. He didn't change the name.
And by the way, is it just me, or I think they should have just left it as the Washington football team?
Oh yeah, and I think they should have. They should
have called it the Washington.
Yeah, they should have called it the Washington Team of Football. That way, they could have had WTF across that helmet while they suck.
Oh, yeah, but I was sitting there thinking, you got all these soccer teams that are like, Salt Lake Football Club or whatever. You have the Washington football team. Okay, run with that. And then they go with the Commanders. Which is not as dumb as the Washington Bullets.
Right now, we got the Salt Lake City Hockey Club.
Or the Utah Jazz.
Utah Hockey Club. Well, the Utah Jazz was the New Orleans Jazz. They just never changed the name.
Yeah, I know, and that's stupid.
Which made sense. The Utah Jazz New Orleans Jazz made perfect sense.
Right. The Utah should have changed the name, and that name should have stuck with New Orleans. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but they've never put another team in New Orleans.
The Pelicans?
See, Cleveland is one of the very.
Did you forget about the Pelicans?
It's a really short. Well, yeah.
Okay. They are an NBA team, even though they don't have that good of a record.
Well, yeah. And by the way, Michael Zion Williamson, those guys are bad. The only thing that's worse than them is the Wizards.
No, I think the Wizards are better. They just don't. It's the front office with them. Because I feel like outside of Brandon Ingram, the way these guys have been playing, you ain't nobody trading for them right now. You got guys you got guys and pieces out in Washington that could be used. I'll give Washington a little credit with this one.
One of my guys, when Zion got drafted,
aren't the Lakers trying to trade for their center?
Yeah,
I think so.
Val? It's still Valanciunas, ain't it?
Valanciunas, yeah.
Yeah, didn't I read? I read that today. But anyway, here's your WTF right here.
Yeah, there it is.
I knew when Zion got drafted, I called him Michael Olowokandi, and everybody said, "You're crazy." I said, "I'm telling you, this kid is going to be injured more than he plays. He's Michael Olowokandi all over again, number 1 overall pick, and ain't going to do shit." Okay, I'm still waiting for Williamson to do something. He's constantly hurt.
Does DeMarcus Cousins have a point about his issues in New Orleans?
I said Zion Williams was the next Greg Oden.
No.
I feel like if he got drafted somewhere else, he would be okay. But because of where he got drafted to,
DeMarcus Cousins got drafted by the Kings.
I know, but his comments were that the organization was trash and how they treated players. There was a reason that AD left. There was a reason that Drew Holiday wanted out. There was a reason that Chris Paul wanted out. And now you get a guy who doesn't have who doesn't have a functioning unit of a franchise around him, and he's in the most obese city in the country, in the world, yet alone.
Oh no, I think Flint's coming up there.
I don't know.
You know who DeMarcus Cousins most recently played for? This is a cool name. The Taiwan Beer Leopards of the T1 League.
And was killing it.
The Taiwan Beer Leopards. That would almost be worth getting a shirt for, the Beer Leopards.
You know what? I might do that for you for Christmas, just cause. Now that I know you want one, because I'm a Beer Leopards fan. I'm a Beer Leopards fan because they gave Dwight Howard a chance when I kept saying that Dwight Howard deserved another opportunity in the league.
You've been talking about Hall of Fame earlier in the show. Dwight Howard, Hall of Famer?
Absolutely. Oh, I love this argument. Let's bring this back up. Dwight Howard is absolutely a Hall of Famer. Absolutely. And I'm not even talking about Houston, LA, anything, none of that. What he did in Orlando for me is absolutely Hall of Fame level.
He was with Tracy McGrady, right?
Yep.
Yeah, a very, very old Tracy McGrady, but nonetheless.
Dude, if McGrady would have stayed healthy, Kobe Bryant was scared of him.
Of course.
Well, if you would have had T-Mac and Shaq and Nick Anderson, shit. We're talking the first trifecta, the first three-man super team.
Wait. Does that timeline match up? If they had kept Shaq?
Yeah.
Because they had Penny and Horace. Oh, yeah. Damn, it does.
It does.
Ooh. A healthy Penny, a healthy T-Mac, and Shaq?
Nick Anderson.
Oof, that's kind of scary.
That could have been a scary team, man.
Yes, to answer the question.
They did make the finals one year, didn't they?
Who? Orlando?
Yeah.
With Dwight? Oh, yeah, because they beat us. They beat us, what, 4-1? That was, and then right after the finals came out, they said that Petrus and Rashard Lewis was on steroids. Mm-hmm. And he do Turkaloo punch JJ Redick in the face in training camp, and it was all over after that.
So what do we think of the moves that have been done in baseball this offseason?
I don't watch baseball until October.
This rule blows. The golden bat. I have so many questions. Are they allowed to take someone off the base pass? Like, say Aaron Judge hits a double, and are they allowed to say, I want to use my golden bat rule and bring him off second and let him bat again?
I don't know if in that situation it works. And then from what I read, the golden bat rule, basically at any time in a game, you can take your best hitter and switch him into the lineup to that spot to help your team win.
This is becoming the Savannah Bananas.
Does that change the lineup? Does that make the guy that he's batting for go to the bench? Or I don't understand all the logics here because there's a lot of ifs.
It's a one-time sub. It doesn't change the lineup, doesn't change the batting order. All it does is you take that one player and stick them in there. You could have pinch hit for the guy 4 innings ago. It could be the 19th inning. You pinch hit for the guy in the 8th inning, and you can bring him in. But yeah, at any point in time, it's the dumbest thing that I have honestly heard of in many, many years about baseball. They're trying to turn this thing into the freaking Savannah Bananas. And as much as I love the Savannah Bananas, Major League Baseball is not the Savannah Bananas.
So
it's screwing with my game.
What does the golden bat have to do with the Savannah Bananas?
It's about bringing eyes to baseball because the Savannah Bananas are doing what baseball hasn't been able to do in 30 years.
But they're doing stuff to ruin the integrity of the game. And there are teams selling out games besides, not saying what the Savannah Bananas are doing. They're selling out stadiums, sure, on a novelty thing. They're doing all this novelty stuff to Major League Baseball and, making the bases bigger to increase stolen bases. You can only throw over twice. They're really working so hard to shorten the game and all this other stuff. I get the pitch clock. That I can understand.
They had bigger bases back in the 80s, and that's why a lot of people stole bases.
it was part of the. It was like the NFL when you had all the running in the running game instead of the passing.
Question. With this golden bat rule, are we allowed to have a new pitcher rule now?
Nope. It's still a pitcher has to face a minimum of 3 batters when they come in.
But that's dumb. This is because this changes the whole game. Like,
right. I agree.
3 batter rule is dumb.
It is.
3 batter rule is stupid. It screws with the integrity of the game. And by the way, James, yes, I can explain the infield fly rule. It takes a few minutes, but I can explain the infield fly rule. As a 50-year baseball guy and a 20-year umpire and all that stuff, yes, I can explain it, and I will. I don't know if we'll have time to do it tonight. But as that's, with all that said, the pitch clock I get helps speed up the game. Not being able to pull a Nomar and step out of the batter's box every time there's a pitch thrown, I get that. That's fine. I'm not
Nomar.
You can only
just playing.
You can only throw over twice to first base on attempted pickoff. Dumb rule. Bases are bigger. Dumb rule. The fact I'm still trying to completely understand exactly how you can and can't block the plate.
Or bigger bases allow for more stolen bases, Rich. That's how it was in the 80s. It was like that in the 80s too. The 80s they used bigger bases, which is why Ricky.
Yeah, but in the 80s they weren't fucking pansies. They could hit the fucking catcher.
No, sir. In the 80s they had the same size bases as they did before they made this change. The base size has never changed until 2 years ago, last year. Right. I'm sorry, Jeremy.
But anyways, what I wanted to say about the pitch clock, there is a rule that I think needs to be added to it to make it better. You need, after a pitcher has been in for 3 innings, because what we're seeing with these guys pitching so fast, they're not getting the proper rest between pitches, which is why you're seeing way more Tommy John surgeries needed lately and a lot more of those injuries that starting to happen. I say after 3 innings, increase it by 5 seconds.
I have a question to that.
Go ahead. You know my soapbox on this, Tommy John, Evan. Go ahead.
So my question to that is it not the pitch clock, and is it more about the pitching style of what these guys do? Because I was a guest on ESPN Cleveland. Well, I called in. I'll just put it that way. And they were talking about this, and my question to them was, is it not the pitch clock, but more about pitching? Because these kids go from the Little League World Series tournament and AAU baseball to high school ball and travel ball to college with pitching entire games and then coming back and pitching a whole nother game a day or two later to get to the league. And now they got 5 to 6 days rest, and then they get scratched. And then when they do play consistently, they throw 45 pitches, and then they get to when it matters, and now they're throwing 60 pitches. And their body was all the way ramped up. Then you lower it.
Actually throwing it correctly.
Right. There's also the mechanics issue and everything else. But as fatigue sets in, you're more apt to have mechanic issues. And mechanic issues are the biggest problem with it, is what I'm getting at. So what I'm saying is, after you were only talking about 5 seconds a pitch, do you realize how much that would save that from happening, because the fatigue would be less as you go further into the game? Now, once you change a pitcher, it goes right back to what it was before.
But that's the other thing about changing mechanics. And that was the other point I was going to get to. I'm glad you brought it up. We could look at basketball, football, hockey, whatever sport you want to look at. When you change somebody's motion from what they've been doing their entire lives, you're changing their muscle atrophy, and that causes to have issues. We saw that with Markelle Fultz and Ben Simmons. We saw that with Joel Embiid. We saw that with Tebow. We saw that for a little bit with Sanchez, if people remember that. We see it all the time. So is it
we've seen it with Josh Allen.
Right. So
look at his rookie year versus every year after that, which is why he's improved every year. His rookie year, his mechanics was off. Brian Dable worked with him because he was a QB whisperer more than anything. helped him get his mechanics and decision making better. And every year he's gotten progressively better.
Right, but he's the only one out of everybody that we've talked about that hasn't gotten hurt after changing their mechanics.
Because he's built like Superman.
Absolutely. They changed Cam Newton. I didn't bring him up because of that very reason. They changed Cam Newton's throwing style.
Right. And they kind of had to, especially after the back injury. They had to change his throwing style.
They changed it the year they went to the Super Bowl.
Right. And then they had to change it again after his back injury because he couldn't even hold it the same then. And then you also saw a ton of regression there too, because you're totally changing the way the quarterback plays. You already changed it once, and now you got to change it again because he can't do it the way you showed him.
So I'll let Rich get on his soapbox because I got to get some sleep.
Okay.
And I got to bug out soon myself, but I'm with with Evan in terms of it's not a once they get to the majors thing. The biggest problem is these kids that are out there playing ball year round, pitching constantly. They're 10 years old and snapping off curveballs when their muscles aren't even fully developed yet. Their bone structure is not fully developed, and they're doing things to their arm that are not meant to happen. Throwing a curveball, throwing overhand is an unnatural motion for a human body, which is why you can see girls softball or fast pitch softball. Fast pitch softball pitchers that can throw 200 pitches and come back the next game. It's a natural motion. You're already going an unnatural way. Now you're torquing the elbow and things like that. They're teaching these kids to throw curveballs at 10, 11, 12 years old. There should be in no way, shape, or form a curveball allowed to be thrown until a kid is a sophomore in high school at minimum.
Agree. No breaking balls.
You cannot be playing 12 months a year, every week, every weekend, and just wearing that arm out over time instead of playing the 4 or 5 months and moving to football or another sport. You're not giving your body time to recuperate. So you're putting 3 times in a year, you're putting 3 years worth of wear and tear on an arm in 1 year. So by the time they get to college, they've already got enough innings on that arm that they should be 30 years old right now in the majors.
High school, Rich. High school even.
Yeah.
High school, these kids have enough innings. It's ridiculous.
I pitched a little bit, but I wasn't great at it. I went to school with a guy you guys may have heard of that was a first-round pick by the Rockies back in '88, Scott Aldred. You ever hear of him?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I went to school with him, but the only thing I wanted him to teach me, I didn't want to learn his curveball. I didn't want to learn his slider. I wanted to learn how to throw a fastball and how to throw a changeup, because that's the only 2 pitches you should learn before you're 18.
Okay, I'll give you 16, 18. That's close enough. I'm right. You're right. I played against Todd Van Poppel, number 1 overall pick of the A's in '88. And the guy, and he blew his arm out. The only team that beat him his senior year of high school was my high school. And we beat him twice. But he blew his arm out. Why? Because he was throwing curveballs at 12, had Tommy John at 18. There are kids running around right now, and I'm sure if you go to any little league or select association in your neighborhood, you're going to find kids in that 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old range that have already had Tommy John surgery.
Or you're going to watch them in a little league game with a 12-inch curve with 18 inches of movement.
And here's the bad thing about that. These kids are walking around proud that they have Tommy John surgery already.
Right.
That's a problem too. I mean, you look at the fact that Nolan Ryan, and James brings up Nolan Ryan not bringing a Cy Young. I'm going to bring up Nolan Ryan on his toughness and his fundamentals and his ability to do that.
He beat up Robin Yount. Well,
he did that too. Ventura. He pitched a 13-inning complete game. His next start, 5 days later, he was out there and went 8 innings shutout.
Right.
Nolan Ryan never had an arm surgery. Greg Maddux never had an arm surgery. Tom Glavine never had an arm surgery.
Because
Roger Clemens never had. Roger Clemens never had an arm surgery. Andy Pettit never had an arm surgery. Mariano Rivera never had an arm. I mean, these guys, they knew how to pitch and they could go long periods. The problem, they're so concerned about they only threw so many pitches and all this other stuff. Blake Snell, as much as I'm not a fan of Blake Snell, was 1,000% right to be as mad as he was in the World Series or in the playoffs. 5 innings, no hits. He's thrown 99 pitches and a jerking. If he needed 150 pitches, throw 150 freaking pitches. Leave him out there till he gives up a hit at least, and then bring him in. The fact that when you get to, for some reason, 100 pitches has been this magical number, that when you get to 100 pitches, automatically your arm falls off your body. That it's ridiculous. It's a training thing. It's a fundamentals thing. People are more concerned about speed and spin rate and movement than they are about freaking throwing strikes. Nothing drives me crazier than when you get an 0-2 count and walk a guy.
Yep. 100%.
That makes me want to just blow up.
But to go back to playing year round, if you do different sports because you're not using the same core muscles with each sport, you are a better tuned athlete and will have a longer career than most of these other players that stick to one sport all year round.
I think that's correct. A parent and coaching issue.
It is 100%.
It is. Right. It is.
Because when I was in high school, we had for you to be on our football team, you had to play 2 sports. Right. It was mandatory. The coach made it mandatory. You had to play 2 sports.
They didn't care if you skipped the winter sport of basketball. You could wait and then go to play baseball or track in the spring, but they wanted you to do a different sport. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
One question.
Our coaches want to do as much as possible.
And one question before we bug out is Ben Crawford going to be a Hall of Famer? Or Carl Crawford, sorry.
Oh, Carl Crawford.
Yeah, he announced his retirement this morning.
No, definitely
Since
not.
He hasn't played in like 7 years.
No, I'm sorry, the shortstop that played for the Giants and went to St. Louis.
Oh, Brandon Crawford.
Holy fuck! Sorry, folks. Sorry, guys. Is he a Hall of
Famer? Is Brandon Crawford a Hall of Famer?
3-time champion.
Right? But that has nothing to do with it, man. He was the dominant shortstop, or one of, for quite a while. I mean, the guy's got a closet full of gold gloves. He's got 4 of them.
I thought it was 5.
No, 4. 15, 16, 17, and 21. I'm looking at his baseball reference. 150 homers, 250 batting average. Wow, I didn't realize it was that low.
That might be the killer.
No.
I say yes. Even though the batting average is low, he had, 3 All-Stars, 4 Golden Gloves, and 2 Silver Sluggers? Why not?
1 Silver Slugger.
So with one of those, and then we're talking about a 250 batting average,
which is poor.
Just under 750.
I gotta get going, guys.
RBI.
All right, Jam.
And so you guys can follow me at
over 1,000 hits.
Jamie, hold on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jamie.
You guys can follow me at Bill's Chat 1 at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Tags on X. You can also follow me on forkball.com, where I write my own sports stories. And also don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, ring the bell for notifications, Driver to the Top Productions. And for more content on Driving to the Top Productions, you can visit our YouTube page, Twitch stream, Facebook stream, Xstream, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you very much for listening, folks. And as always, we're driving to the top.
All right, James.
Peace, James.
Yeah.
I'm about to get out of here soon.
See you later,
too,
Jim.
but I'm saying he got what is it? Over 1,000 hits as well. And just like James said, is it really a deal breaker? He played great defense.
Okay, but let's use his analogy. In no way, shape, or form is Brandon Crawford Ozzie Smith. No way, shape, or form.
There's a reason I didn't say today, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, no. Yeah, if he played like Ozzie Smith or Omar Vizquel, yeah, I could see excusing that. But
I could see him possibly getting in with the Veterans Board later on, like Alan Trammell did, who didn't have the offensive numbers but had the record-setting double play turns with Lou Whitaker. They all got in later. They won't get in during the voting period, is what I'm getting at.
And see, that's part of my problem with the Hall of Fame, because Trammell and Whitaker should not be in there. They're very good. Hall of very good. They're not Hall of Fame players.
So I hate to change
the subject. The record turn by shortstop and second baseman in the major league shouldn't be in there. The only reason why Pete Rose isn't in there is because he gambled. But now that he's dead, because they said as long as he's alive, he won't get in the Hall of Fame. How much you want to bet in the next 5 years he's in the Hall of Fame?
I give it.
I think he's going to get in too.
But he shouldn't be.
Pete Rose?
Yes.
As a player, yes. As a coach, no.
So I hate to change the subject, but he brought up something that I was going to say when we were having the Hall of Fame subject.
Yeah.
Should Clay Matthews be in the Hall of Fame?
I think so.
Which one? Which one?
Senior, the one that played in Cleveland.
The lineman? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the linebacker. Clay Matthews' dad.
Oh, the linebacker?
Yeah.
His daughter is always pushing for him to be in there.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, he's another Hall of Very Good.
Can you look up the numbers right quick, Rich?
I am right now.
That's what I'm doing. And I don't think, I mean, I don't remember ever seeing, I don't know that he was ever a top 5 player at the position. He has, in 19 years, he has 16 interceptions, 14 fumble recoveries. No.
But was he one of those guys?
82 sacks. Yeah.
Rich, was he one of those guys where, like we said earlier, defenses run to the other side? I mean, offenses run to the other side and stay away from him.
No.
He had 520 total tackles, 384 total, 136 assisted, 92.5 sacks, 17 forced fumbles, 5 recovered for 109 yards, 6 interceptions for 191 yards, and 2 tutties out of that.
In 19 years.
So
he only broke double-digit sacks once. He only had more than 5 sacks. 1, 2, 3,
it was 11
4,
years,
5,
but okay.
6, 7, 8 times. He only had more than 5 sacks 8 times out of 19 years.
Was he considered an on-ball linebacker at that time?
But at the same time, he was never voted as an All-Pro.
Right.
He was
second
leader.
team All-Pro.
He was the sack leader his second year in 2010, where he had 13.5 sacks.
James Burgess brings up the point I'm trying to get at. He was a run stuffer.
But he still managed to get, in a 11-year career, 92.5 sacks.
How many sacks does Brian Urlacher have?
More.
He has more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember. How come my only memory of Urlacher is the bus running his ass over in the snow in Heinz Field?
I think that's the only. I think it's like that for anybody who didn't root for the Bears.
Brian Urlacher played 13 years and had 41.5 sacks.
Brian Urlacher was a beast.
He was an All-Pro 5 times on the first team, once on the second team. He was a Defensive Player of the Year twice, second in the Defensive Player of the Year once, and came in 5th in the MVP balloting in 2001. So, yeah, Urlacher's in there.
I'm not saying Urlacher shouldn't be. I'm just asking about sacks as a Mike.
He had less.
Yeah, he had 41, and Clay Matthews in 19 years had
11 years.
What is it?
11 years, 92.
No. The Clay Matthews that played in Cleveland, right? That went to Cleveland and Atlanta.
I played 19 years. Bay one.
No, that's his son.
Yeah, Clay Matthews. We're talking about
in 19 years, Clay Matthews Sr. had he had 82 sacks in 19 years. So he averaged about almost 5 a year.
Well, there's like a Clay Matthews Sr., there's a Clay Matthews Jr., and then there's Clay Matthews. So I was trying to get the right one.
Yeah, Clay Matthews Sr. is the one Evan's talking about that played for Cleveland.
And here's
to answer your question, no.
Here's my last question before I hit the hay.
I think we're gonna call it here soon too.
I gotta bug myself.
Is Eli a quarterback? I mean, is not Eli a quarterback? Is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer?
He will be a first-round Hall of Famer because 90% of the votes come from New York media.
Even though he shouldn't go in.
He will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm just being realistic because that's where 90% of the votes come from, is out of New York media.
Right. But no, to answer your question, to me, no. No.
What about you, Jeremy? Do you believe that he deserves it?
For his regular season, no. For his postseason, yes. Because you can't go to the postseason only twice, win the Super Bowl and be the Super Bowl MVP and not get in. You know what I'm saying?
But when you look at
doesn't Justin Tucker or Michael Strahan deserve the MVP his first time?
But they didn't get it. It doesn't matter who deserved it. Who got it was Eli Manning.
They could have won by a field goal that they got in the first quarter. And it'd be a 3-0 game. He was still going to get it. He was the Giants quarterback that beat Brady.
Yeah.
And he and he kept the Dolphins undefeated.
Well, I mean, when you look at Eli's career,
all of Florida's going to vote for him to get in too. We forget about that.
Yeah. But when you look at Eli's career, I mean, it was a nice career, but I mean, 100. I mean, he had almost as many. Well, he had 366 touchdowns, 240 picks. So that's he never had. Let me retract that. He never had more than 35 touchdowns. He only broke 33 times, but he led the league in interceptions 3 different times. He only made 4 Pro Bowls. He only made 4 Pro Bowls in his career. He was only an All-Pro once. Both of those were in 2011. I mean, and his record is an even 500, 117-117-0.
He beat Brady twice.
Yep, that's the thing. Yeah, he beat the guy.
Look, because he beat Brady twice, he's going to get Ed Bichette's vote probably out of Pittsburgh, and he's probably going to get all of New York and all of Florida for keeping that record available. He's going to be a first-time ballot just because of that.
That's what I say. He probably is, but he shouldn't be. He'll be on my list of people that are in there that shouldn't be.
So I have to ask, because a lot of people say they blame Jared Goff for the 2018 Super Bowl loss. Has everybody went back and looked at the key drops in that game? There was 2 by Brandon Cooks. One where he had no one around him for 15 yards. He'd have been in the house. He was at the 20-yard line when he would have caught the ball. The other one, he was in the end zone. Josh Reynolds dropped one in the back of the end zone. And Gerald Everett, the tight end, dropped one in the back of the end zone. You add all that up, That means Goff played well enough to win the Super Bowl, and his team let him down. And that's without Todd Gurley running the ball.
The only reason Jared Goff got that narrative came the way it was to save Sean McVay. Because if we're being honest, in my opinion, if Sean McVay didn't have Aaron Donald, they don't win that Super Bowl against Cincinnati.
Hey, let's look at it this way. If Jesse Bates didn't channel his inner Jaquiski Tart, they wouldn't have got that touchdown to Cup because it had got intercepted on the 1 yard line.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not saying this to take away anything from McVay. I think he's a great offensive guy, but do you really think after Stafford's gone, he's going to do anything anywhere to win a Super Bowl?
Hasn't been sent, nor has Matt Stafford looked anywhere near as good as he did that year.
And I think that was just, I hate to say the league is scripted, but I feel like that Super Bowl was really, that opportunity for them was really given to them because you go get a guy who's held it down, didn't bitch him on, and did everything he could in Detroit. Should have won in Detroit, but they didn't like the way that Jim Schwartz coached, and I think they gave him one. But no, I just don't see Sean McVay as high as everybody else does. I never really have.
Right. Sean McVay, he came out of he's one of those ones that came out of the Shanahan tree. Same with Matt LaFleur. Same with a couple of the other offensive guys that have been successful.
Mike McDaniels.
Right. All these guys have been successful lately. Have came from the Shanahan tree.
Robert Saleh.
And it's crazy.
Are you guys a fan of the NFL head coach tree? Because I haven't really seen the tree. They have success in winning games, but can we name a head coach that brought a guy through his system and then went and won somewhere else multiple times?
Bill Cowher, Bruce Arians.
That's about it.
Other than that?
Bill Walsh.
Here's the crazy thing. Everybody wants to give Sean Payton credit for Dan Campbell being as good a coach as he was. Everybody forgets he was an interim head coach before he ever got to New Orleans.
Right.
Dude, Tony Romo talked really high of Campbell the other day on Thanksgiving.
And here's another name that I'm going to throw out there because he never turned in his NFL retirement paperwork. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got a pickup here because it's the time of year when he always gets picked up. And Ndamukong Suh, because of what he said about Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell was the one that changed him from being a dirty player to a clean player while he was at Miami. And he said he loved Coach Campbell for it because it actually taught him how to be better for the team rather than thinking about himself.
Yeah.
If the Lions go to the Super Bowl, which I hope they do, I'm rooting for you guys to win the Super Bowl because we're not going to do it this year.
I hear you.
I've
said the same thing every time Cleveland made the playoffs. And then when you guys beat the fraudulent, as much as I hate to say it, because they were 11-1 and had the most one-scored wins in that year that I've ever seen. That was a fraudulent Steelers team that year. As soon as they beat them, I was like, man, I hope you go all the way now. You know what I mean?
I did too.
I'm not gonna lie. I still have nightmares about that Chiefs game because I'm not even worried about the last play where Tyreek. I'm sorry, I gotta have a little therapy here. I'm not worried about the 2-yard out that Tyreek Hill got. I'm still hurt that they didn't call targeting on the safety that caused that fumble that they called a touchback. Mm-hmm. That shit was clear as day.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Tyreek Hill, congratulations on kid number 10 before you're 30.
I thought it was 12 now. I thought he had the Baker's dozen.
Oh, was it 12? I read 10 today online, so I don't know.
No, there's 2 that he has at home and 10 illegitimate. It's a dozen.
I guess he's gonna put Fred Taylor in the rearview mirror.
He's basically raising an NBA team, half WNBA, half NBA.
Wasn't that Phillip Rivers too?
Yeah, Phillip Rivers though.
Yeah, but that was all with one woman.
And it's all married because they're good Catholic people.
It's time for me to get off. I'm not going to respond to that.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I got to get out of here too, man. I got a
I want to say
early day
thank you
tomorrow
for having me on. I'm glad I could get here this time.
It's fun, man.
Go ahead around the room. Say how we can get you.
Definitely have fun. We got to argue some more.
I love it. It's fun. I love
We'll
debate.
see you tomorrow night, Ev.
Yeah, we should be starting tomorrow. I'm gonna set it up and send them the invite and everything. And then I'm also doing the show with you guys tomorrow as well, right? What time are we supposed to do that?
9 o'clock.
All right.
We got John. We have John and Mark joining us tomorrow night for sure.
Okay. Your nickname is Tyreek Bareback Show Hill.
I saw that.
But yeah, I am Evan, the host of Talking Sports by the Lake, and we'll be bringing a new show to the network called Let's Argue, where I will have a main co-host. We will introduce him at the proper time, but also for any fans that come to open mic that have a topic they would like to argue with the two of us, the plan is to have a open segment where we can either send you a link if you're comfortable with that or give us a topic to argue about. So that'll be coming very soon, where we'll also have the guys from Open Mic just to be able to do the one thing we all love the most and act like we're at the barbershop or in the high school lunchroom, and that's argue about sports. But I absolutely love being here at Driving to the Top Productions, and I'll pass it on to the next guy.
Clockwise, counterclockwise, man.
You want me to go or you? I don't care.
Well, I'll go. You can get me on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it this week, at Go Big Go Home Pod. Definitely put some stuff out there to get some people fired up about some things. My opinions are definitely a little off the center stripe, but that's okay. And I definitely welcome all of y'all's as well. Facebook, you can hit me up at my name, Rich Richardson. Again, if you want to discuss, talk, tell me I'm an idiot, tell me you agree with me. Hey, let's have some banter back and forth. Wednesday nights, I get with that guy in the lower right-hand corner and we talk a little Pittsburgh sports. God only knows where it ends up from there. We start out Pittsburgh sports. It ends up a bunch of other different places though when it's all said and done. So but we have a good time with it. We invite you to check us out.
Well, you see me here. I write for the Motor City Tribune, which is owned by the South Florida Tribune. I also do my own podcast, which is Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions. I am live every day, Monday through Friday, noon to 1, doing my Lions Talk with Smoke and Jeremy B. You can also find me occasionally on Monday night, here whenever I can. If I'm not doing a live with my publisher, I'll be here whenever they want me to. And Wednesday
You're welcome anytime, Jerm.
And on Wednesday nights, I do my NFL Roundtable Talk, where I invite guests and podcasters of other teams, and we go through the latest NFL news and do our weekly pick'ems. I'm proud to be 68% just picking straight up winners this year. So that's strong. I look at some of the numbers that some of these professionals doing it when they're doing it just straight up, just picking a winner, and I'm going, how are they less than 50% and have a job? They're not meteorologists. But anyways, and you can find me on Twitter at Smoking Jeremy B.
Jerm, Evan, Rich, Dylan, Jamie, I thank you all for coming on. Jamie left us with Driving to the Top. Ring the bell for notifications. Check out all our content. I'm at Sports Talking It. Everybody in the comments tonight, thank you very much. Obviously, if you want the link to figure it out if Jeremy can't be here, obviously, we'll sit here and get your comments up there and, we'll talk to you. Even if you want to do some guest appearance, like Evan said, I'm not afraid to invite people. We've done it before. But hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in, and everybody have a good night, guys. I am also apologizing for my microphone issues earlier today.
Hey, I'm glad you figured it out.
Yeah, I had to switch microphones.